If you're into RPGs, the next wave of games coming to Nintendo Switch and the Switch 2 is honestly stacked. From massive open-world adventures to classic turn-based experiences and fresh new IPUs, there's a lot to look forward to. STARBITES, a desert planet called Bitter, still wrecked from an interstellar war. And right in the middle of it is a young salvager named Lukita, who just wants to get off-world and live her life. Then a giant robot rises from the sand and everything goes sideways. That's the opening punch of STARBITES, a turn-based JRPG from Ikina Games coming May 21st, 2026 on both Switch and Switch 2. The game runs on a classic command-based battle system where you're hunting enemy weaknesses and chaining attacks. But the real hook is called Driver's High, a gauge that fills up when you deal or take damage. And when it's maxed, you can cut the turn order and strike immediately with powered-up skills. Every character rides their own customized motorbot into battle, and you gear them up with weapons, engines, and armor as you go. The tone is colorful and anime-inspired, packed with humor, side quests, and minigames. Village in the Shade looks like a charming farming sim dropped straight out of a Studio Ghibli dream. You move into a mountain village called Kagatsu, restore your little homestead, grow crops, raise animals, go fishing, attend cherry blossom festivals, and slowly make friends with the locals. The hand-painted visuals are gorgeous, and the whole thing gives off that warm, slow life energy. But here's the thing, the village has rules. Don't talk to strangers, don't leave the village boundaries, and under no circumstances do you go outside after dark. That's where Village in the Shade shifts gears entirely. What feels cozy during the day becomes genuinely unsettling once night falls, and the mystery buried underneath this peaceful community is something you piece together through your relationships and daily routines. Developed by Nippon Ichi Software, the folks behind Disgaea, and coming to Switch, Switch 2, and PS5 in fall 2026. ETRANGE Overlord launched on Switch on March 26, 2026, and it's easily one of the most gloriously weird games to come out this year. You play as Lady ETRANGE von Rosenberg, a sweets-obsessed noblewoman who gets falsely accused of murdering the king, executed, and wakes up in hell. Her response? Take the whole place over. This action RPG from Disgaea creator Sohei Niikawa plays out in stages where you fight with a team of 4 characters, each with a combo, a dodge, and a special across a battlefield built around a revolving lane mechanic. Power-ups, weapons, buffs, and even characters themselves rotate around the map like a conveyor belt, and you need to grab what you need at the right time. It's fast, chaotic, and completely unhinged in the best way. There are musical numbers, a surprisingly sharp story about faith and self-determination, and a cast of bizarre allies who keep things hilarious from start to finish. It even supports 4-player co-op. Elden Ring is coming to Switch 2. The Tarnished edition brings the full From Software open-world experience to Nintendo's new hardware, and for a lot of players, this is going to be their first time stepping into the lands between. If you don't know Elden Ring, it's an action RPG where you play as the Tarnished, a fallen warrior summoned back to reclaim the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. The world is massive, beautiful, and full of secrets hidden in every corner, from crumbling fortresses to underground labyrinths to hauntingly quiet boss arenas. Combat is methodical and deliberate. You read enemies, time your dodges, manage your stamina, and build your character around a playstyle that works for you. There's sorcery, melee, bows, and every combination between. The Tarnished edition bundles the base game alongside the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion, which adds a whole new continent's worth of content. Playing all of it on a portable is genuinely impressive. SacriFire has been a long time coming. Originally kickstarted in 2021, this pixel art RPG from Pixelated Milk is inspired by the JRPGs of the 90s. But it's not just coasting on nostalgia. You play as Ezekiel Raiden, a young soldier training to join the Church of Sheol's elite order, tasked with protecting the underground city of Antioch from the demon-infested surface world above. But the story goes deeper than just demon hunting. Ezekiel gets pulled into a conflict thousands of years in the making, and the game isn't afraid to challenge the moral ground he stands on. The combat blends real-time and turn-based elements, where you can target individual enemy body parts, exploit weaknesses, chain together combos, and craft weapons using the Devos gauntlets that transform into swords, crossbows, spears, and more. Visually, it mixes gorgeous hand-drawn 2D characters with 3D environments, hitting that sweet 2.5D style. From Team Asano, the team behind Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default, comes their first action RPG, and the HD 2D visuals are stunning as ever. The Adventures of Elliot, Millennium Tales releases June 18th, 2026 on Switch 2, and it drops you into the continent of Philibieldia, where beast tribes have taken over most of the land. You play as Elliot, an adventurer accompanied by a fairy named Faye, who's sent to explore newly discovered ruins outside the last human stronghold. Inside those ruins, Elliot stumbles onto an artifact called the Doorway of Time, and from there, the story spans across both the past and present. The gameplay is real-time action with sword, shield, bow, and bombs. A lot of people are comparing it to the classic 2D Zelda entries, but with more platforming and Elliot's fairy companion adding a warping mechanic that lets you teleport to wherever Faye is. You can equip 2 weapons at once and switch freely in battle. Pokémon Champions launched April 8th, 2026 on Switch and Switch 2, and this one is a bit different from your usual mainline Pokémon game. There's no story, no gyms, no open world to explore. This is a pure battle game, built entirely around competitive Pokémon battling and designed to be the official platform for the Pokémon World Championships. You build a team, you fight other trainers online or with friends, and you grind your way up the ranked ladder. The game supports single and double battles, and under the current seasonal rules, Pokémon can Mega Evolve, including Mega Dragonite. You recruit Pokémon using victory points earned in ranked play, or you can bring over your own trained Pokémon directly from Pokémon Home, including ones from Scarlet and Violet, Go, and Legends ZA. Training has been simplified so you can distribute your stat points freely. It's free to play with a starter pack bundle available. Switch 2 owners get a free visual upgrade patch. Digimon Story Time Stranger is already out on PS5, Xbox, and PC, and it hits Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 on July 10th, 2026. This is the 7th entry in the Digimon Story series, and it's also the best-selling Digimon game in Western history, crossing 1 million copies in 69 days. You play as a secret agent of an organization called Adamas, who, right before a catastrophic explosion levels a city, encounters a mysterious Digimon and gets thrown 8 years back into the past. The mission becomes about unraveling why the world is collapsing, and doing it across both the human world, set in Tokyo, and the digital world, Iliad. Combat is turn-based with deep team customization. You're scanning enemies mid-battle to convert them into new Digimon, and Digivolution is completely non-linear. You can evolve and de-evolve freely, with your training choices shaping which evolution paths open up. Over 450 Digimon are in the game. Witchbrook has been in development for nearly 10 years, and it is finally arriving in 2026 on Switch, Switch 2, PC, and Xbox. From Chucklefish, the indie studio that helped bring Stardew Valley to the world, this is a life sim and social RPG set in the coastal city of Mossport, where you enroll as a student at Witchbrook College to train as a witch. Day-to-day life looks a lot like Stardew. You build relationships, complete quests for townspeople, attend seasonal events, explore the city on your broom or moped, brew potions, cast spells, and optionally pursue romance with a colorful cast of dateable NPCs. Your education is practical lessons send you out into Mossport to help the community, blending story quests with learning magic. The game supports up to 4 players in online co-op, and the developers say every mechanic was designed with multiplayer in mind. The art style is beautiful pixel art, the tone is cozy, and the world looks dense with things to discover. Fire Emblem is back on Switch 2 in 2026 with Fortune's Weave, and if you're a Three Houses fan, you're going to want to pay attention here. The story is built around a high-stakes tournament called the Heroic Games, hosted by a mysterious figure known as the Divine Sovereign, who promises to grant the wishes of the victors. Warriors from every corner of the world enter, each carrying their own goals, secrets, and loyalties, and the conflicts that unfold between them are at the heart of the narrative. The reveal trailer heavily suggests this is set in the same universe as Three Houses, with what appears to be an older Sothis making a cameo. Gameplay-wise, it's rooted in the Three Houses formula: turn-based tactical combat on grid maps. Combat arts, crests, and gambits all return. But there's a new mechanic called Blaze Arts, where characters can spend health to trigger powerful map abilities. The Elder Scrolls 4: Oblivion Remastered is coming on Switch 2. And for a lot of people, this is a bucket list RPG finally made portable. Released by Bethesda in 2006, Oblivion is set in Cyrodiil, the imperial heartland of Tamriel. The main story follows you, a prisoner, who witnesses the assassination of the Emperor, getting handed a task to find his hidden heir before Mehrunes Dagon and his Daedric armies tear open the gates of Oblivion and consume the world. But beyond the main quest, the game is famously enormous. The Dark Brotherhood questline, the Thieves Guild, the Arena, the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild, Shivering Isles, there are dozens of hours of content completely removed from the main story, all of it memorable. The remaster modernizes the visuals, updates the character animations and third-person combat, and brings the whole experience up to modern standards. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. After Remake was contained to Midgar, Rebirth blows the doors open. This is the second part of the FF7 trilogy, and it takes Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, Barret, and the rest of the gang out of the city and into the vast world beyond Calm, the Grasslands, Junon, Costa del Sol, the Gold Saucer, Cosmo Canyon, and more. The story continues the pursuit of Sephiroth, and things get increasingly layered and emotionally heavy as the original game's most iconic moments approach. The combat builds directly on what Remake established, now with more party members, deeper synergy mechanics between characters, and an expanded set of abilities for everyone. Outside of combat, Rebirth is absolutely packed. There's mini-games everywhere, open-world areas to explore, side quests, Fort Condor, Queen's Blood card game, and dozens of hours of optional content on top of an already long main story. The Duskbloods is shaping up to be one of the most unique RPGs coming to Nintendo's next-gen system, blending From Software's signature combat with a fresh, multiplayer-driven structure. Set in a dark, collapsing world where timelines collide, you play as a Bloodsworn, vampire-like warriors fighting for survival and transcendence. Instead of a traditional single-player journey, the game focuses on P versus E matches with up to 8 players, mixing intense duels, enemy encounters, and dynamic objectives. A standout mechanic is the role system, where players may be assigned specific targets or allies, adding a strategic layer beyond pure combat. Character customization is tied to lore, shaping abilities and playstyle, while random in-match events keep encounters unpredictable. With fast, grounded combat, mobility options, and large-scale boss fights, it carries strong Bloodborne energy while evolving the formula. The Duskbloods is currently set to release in 2026 for Nintendo Switch 2. If you played Trails in the Sky first chapter and got hit by that ending, then you already know why this one's number 2 on the list. Trails in the Sky second chapter is a full 3D remake of Trails in the Sky SC, the sequel, and it's arriving fall 2026 on Switch, Switch 2. The story picks up immediately after the first game's cliffhanger. Estelle and Joshua have just been promoted to senior bracers, but on the eve of a celebration, Joshua reveals a dark truth from his past and vanishes, leaving only his harmonica behind. Estelle sets off across the continent of Liberal to find him, all while a shadowy secret society called Ouroboros begins moving openly to plunge the kingdom into chaos. Trails in the Sky second chapter is widely regarded as one of the strongest emotional arcs in the entire Trails series. The character writing, the world building, and the story payoffs are deeply satisfying. The first chapter remake scored a 90 on Metacritic for Switch 2, so the bar going into this one is high, and based on what the series means to fans, expectations are completely justified. Pokémon Winds and Pokémon Waves. They're the first mainline Pokémon games built exclusively for Nintendo Switch 2. Generation 10 is set in a tropical archipelago inspired by Southeast Asia, full of lush islands, jungles, ocean depths, and coastal cities that look more vibrant than anything Game Freak has put out before. The game features a fully open world where wind and ocean currents shape the environment, and you team up with Pokémon to push through the natural forces blocking your path. Your 3 starter options are Brout, a grass-type bean chick, Pombon, a fire-type puppy, and Gekwa, a water-type gecko. The pair version structure returns, with version-exclusive Pokémon and different outfits for each version's protagonist. Being the first generation designed specifically for Switch 2 hardware from the ground up, expectations are that this will be the visual and mechanical leap the series has needed. That's the list. 15 RPGs worth keeping your eyes on for Switch and Switch 2. Drop a comment, which one are you most excited for? If this helped you out, hit subscribe. More gaming content coming your way. See you next time.